It's Tuesday, October 17th. This is an end of the day SPY recap. Just have a couple of minutes to go in trading. You can see here on the daily chart, we end up with a 3-bar that's closing pretty neutral, kind of near the close of yesterday, a little bit green, but we'll see what that means. In terms of the bar itself, we took out the low of the previous day and then moved up, took out the high of the previous day, which was also a target that we discussed in the recap yesterday, triple highs up here. Then it started back down again, and we're right in the middle of this area. So you can see here, even on the daily chart, after this move up, we've been just consolidating for now, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 days, which, means eventually will broaden out either higher or lower. It's still, remains to be seen. But clearly from here, we made higher highs. We'd make a lower low. Now we made a higher high. We started coming back down a little bit, but we didn't really follow through yet to maybe make a lower low. On the weekly chart, we have the 2-up week that until it gets below the open here and the halfway point of that prior week, that'll show a 2-up failure possibly. But if not, then we stay above the open of the week and keep this week green and maybe head up higher in this fair value gap. And quite frankly, depending how this weekend finishes, it could be strongly green and we can continue higher and maybe broaden out above this entire bar if that's what price wants to do. But it's also trying to, in some way, there's selling coming in this gap between the low of that bar and the high of that bar. So, that's what we're seeing here as we come up. Is this just broadening area ready for a big reversal? And we have signs, that's developing, and we also have reference points to know that that is happening. If we can get below the purple line here and get the weekly chart back to red. But if not, then we might just be pausing for another push up higher into this gap area. We've talked about that. So it's tough to say. Yesterday, after yesterday's closing bar, we kind of figured we'd take out these highs, but instead, if we look at the chart, price was deciding to move a lot lower near the open. So that was going to be an interesting play, whether we just completely failed on this move up yesterday and we're getting the kicker bar to the downside. So on the very first bar, we kind of had neutral, and then on bar 2, it is a little bit red. So you could have went short here, bought puts. There's no doubt about it. But given my methodology, right in the halfway point of that first bar, once you got in here, you had to get right out. If we go to the 5-minute chart and you kind of look how it developed in the first, 15, 20, 30 minutes of trading, first bar was these 3 bars. Then bar number, you could have maybe tried a short here on bar, an anticipatory short here on the first 5-minute bar of the second 15-minute bar, but then the second bar did close red, but you could see right here 2 bars pausing and boom, it went up there, and you had to get right out and then reconsider everything. And I kind of shot a video how I went short the QQQs and I had to take a small gain on that trade. I was aggressive getting short. That was a little weaker than this, but I got out quickly, and you can see why you have to take your small losses, because look what happened after that, went right higher. So if you look at the 15-minute chart, we then moved up. I discussed how I wanted to see how it was going to handle that first bar, if it was going to fail or not, maybe take out some stops and roll over to the downside. Instead, what it did was it moved to the halfway point of the prior day. So we started at the low, we got to the halfway point. That signal you were going to be heading up to the highs of the day. And so right around here into this pause area, this was a signal you were heading up to take out yesterday's high. So there was a trade if you wanted to take it, just based on, the basic strat, 50% rule, and my opening price action, rule of the relative to the first bar. Anyway, took out that high. That was, once you get a 3-bar, you don't really, it's just broadening action. You don't really know if it's going to continue or come back through the range. On this orderly pause here, it then moved a little lower. I actually bought some puts in here, and I'm still holding on to them. We'll see what happens. But, it didn't really follow through to the downside. It kind of closed right here near yesterday's close. So it's 2 days in a row, neutral. In a way, that kind of looks like maybe we'll come up here and just kind of pausing overall before making another push higher, but you never know. So we'll see what happens tomorrow. But the only trades today, the way I see it, was to take maybe a small loss at the beginning if you were going to buy puts, and then you could have had a trade here to get it back and go long to this target. And then there was a trade possibly to buy some puts in here if you felt you might get a reversal. But really, there was no, other than that, there was no secondary trade to try to take out those highs of the day. So maybe, ideally, I guess it was just these two trades, a loss and a win, with really just the morning trades. And there was really no secondary trade. I took a chance that we're going to be heading lower, but we'll find that out in the days ahead. So, we will see what's developing here. A lot of choppiness in this little area, and we just have to let price action decide whether we continue higher or if this ends up being a reversal back to the downside.